Let's go ahead and have a seat at the front of the mat or anywhere. You can even sit in a chair if you need to. We're going to just get centered and kind of settle down this morning. Feeling into our bodies to see what's going on. So just taking a moment to find a straight aligned spine, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw, closing the eyes, taking a deep breath in, big exhale, and then just really beginning to feel into your body. Notice everything this morning. Pleasant and perhaps less pleasant sensations. Begin to deepen your breath, doing some nice, slow, deep Ujjayi breath. Check in with mind state, emotional state, energetic state, and your sense of connection. Let's go ahead and bring our palms together in front of our hearts. Just taking a moment to set our personal intention for practice this morning. When you're clear on your intention, big inhale. Exhale through your mouth. And let's begin standing. So we're going to be engaging our core. So right off the bat, that's what I want to kind of get into. We're going to really focus on keeping it engaged without being tight or tense and trying to keep it engaged throughout practice. So it's a very, very mild form of Uddiyana Bandha, which is slightly pulling the navel in. We're going to start that in Tadasana. So I want you to bring your feet either sit bone distance apart or completely together at the front of the mat. Spread your toes, plant your heels, get grounded. Shift your hips over your heels, shoulders over hips, ears over shoulders. And then I want you to lift your sternum, but then kind of poke the bottom points of the rib cage in. What you should feel is from the bottom of the rib cage all the way down to your pubic bone is that you're engaged, that you're stable, that you're strong. You're not tight and hunched over, but you're not loose and relaxed. You are engaged in your midsection. So just feel that for a moment, get really comfortable with it. We're going to try and keep that throughout our entire practice today. Slight pulling into the navel, nothing crazy. You still want to be able to breathe, but slight pulling into the navel. And then let's inhale, reach the arms up, spread the fingers, lift the heart, hold this for a couple of breaths. Just lifting the chest towards the sky, still that slight pulling into the navel. And then on your next exhale, you're going to bend your knees a little bit and just drape forward in ragdoll. One more breath here, just letting the spine lengthen. And then you can place your fingers on either side of the feet, only as much as you comfortably can. You're straightening the legs, and then you're looking up halfway. So our half forward bend, Tadasana, and then exhale, full forward bend. We're going to step back with the right foot. Just come into a nice deep lunge. And so you're kind of finding your way into separating between the thighs, just getting grounded. Last class, we talked about those 4 magic points on the mat. So you might kind of bring your awareness to that. And then bring your awareness back to your core and your breath. So slight pulling into the navel. Nice Ujjayi breath. Take your right hand up towards the ceiling. And then you can just drop your left knee down. You're going to put your right hand on the inside of your right knee. Flex your right foot and roll to the outside edge of the foot. And then you can begin to apply a little bit of pressure to the inside of that right thigh. Waking up outer hip, inner thigh. We won't neglect any of our body parts today. Allow that right leg to extend now as your right hand comes down, getting into the hamstring. And of course, you want to flex the ankle and toes of the right foot. Kind of pull your chest forward, maybe bring your awareness back to your core, keeping that slight pulling into the navel. And then we're going to bend the right knee, bring the arms up and overhead. I want you to really strongly tilt the pelvis back, lift the chest, push those hips forward, find your stretch on the front of that left hip, left thigh, and then bring your awareness back to keeping your core engaged. From here, we're going to step back to plank, and we're going to hold it for a few breaths. So if you've got wrist issues, feel free to do this as a forearm plank. Otherwise, step back. Remember those 4 magic points on your mat. And remember, we don't want the bum in the air. We don't want it sagging down. You want a nice straight line. Now, if you've got that nice straight line, you're going to feel that your core is engaged. We want that. And it's not just the abdomen. It's the obliques, which are the sides of the waist, and also the low back. Let's take 2 more breaths. So the first time we'll modify, drop down knees, chest and chin, untuck the toes, and rise up into a baby cobra. And then downward facing dog. As you get into this first down dog, you may move a little bit if you need to. But once you find some stillness, I want you to come back to awareness of that slight pulling into the navel. Take your left foot forward up between the hands. So we're just coming into our lunge on the left side. Allowing thighs to separate a little bit. And then once we're kind of situated, we're engaging our core again. Keep your right hand planted and take your left hand towards the ceiling. Bring the right knee down to the mat. Left hand's going to go to the inside of the left foot. Roll to the outside edge of your foot before you press on the inside of your left knee. So we're finding a little bit of sensation in that left outer hip. Gently pressing on the inside of the left knee with our left hand. Rolling to the outside edge of the left foot. And then we extend our left leg, left hand to the ground, flexing ankle and toes of the left foot, pulling the chest forward. Double check that your core is engaged. And then we're going to bend the left knee, bring the arms up and overhead, strongly tilt your pelvis back. Let the hips move forward. Your chest is lifting, but the bottom points of the rib cage are tucking in. So you should feel that slight pulling into the navel. Core is very engaged. You're feeling the sensation on the front of your right hip. Bring your hands down to the mat. We're going to step forward to our standing forward bend. Inhale, arms reach all the way up and overhead. Exhale, palms together in front of your heart, becoming conscious again of that slight pulling into the navel. Nice engaged core. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Inhale, look up halfway, and then back down. You're going to step back with your right foot. Hold your lunge for a moment. If you're able, you're going to bring the arms up and overhead. Remember, you can drop the right knee if you need to. Tilt the pelvis back. Allow your hips to sink. Core is still engaged. Slight pulling into the navel. I want you to spin your right heel flat, come into warrior two. Core engaged. So just being mindful this whole time of the core. Rotating back into your lunge. Right toes, arms up and overhead. Engage your core. From here, we're going to lift off into warrior three. Extend your right leg behind you, reach the arms in front of you, or if you prefer, you can have them out to the side. I'm just moving mine so I don't hit anything. One more breath, core engaged, right foot down, arms overhead again. So when the core is engaged, we have a lot more control over the entire body. Let's take the hands to the mat and step back to a plank position and hold it. So just a reminder, our tutorial on Monday about Chaturanga. If you need to drop to your knees to do it, that's fine. If none of that's accessible to you, you might want to hold this plank for an extra breath because I'm going to ask you to hold some version of Chaturanga or this plank for another 3 count. So on your next exhale, if you're lowering down into Chaturanga, go for it. And hold. 2, 3. Upward facing dog or cobra. Downward facing dog. Lengthen, double check that your core is engaged. You got that little bit of a pulling into the navel. And then we're going to step the right foot forward. If you can, go ahead and just bring the arms up and overhead. Pelvis tilts, lift the chest, engage the core, allow the hips to drop. We spin the left heel flat, come into our warrior two. Core is engaged. Rotating back into our lunge, come onto the left toes, arms overhead again. We lift off into a warrior three. Left leg extends into the air behind you. Left foot goes back down into your lunge. And then take your hands to the mat. Take the vinyasa of your choice. Keep the navel slightly pulled in. And then from here, we're going to drop to the knees. And come onto your forearms, making sure that you can wrap your hands around your upper arms. So critical to have the elbows the correct distance apart so that our shoulders are protected. You're going to make a little horseshoe with your hands. And before you do anything, I want you to push into your forearms and feel that lift between the shoulder blades. Maintain that. We're going to very gently put the crown of the head, the top of the head, be mindful of not putting your forehead down, into that little horseshoe made by your hands. Turn the toes under, take your knees off the ground, and just walk your feet forward. This is just a headstand prep. Hold this for a breath. Double check that you can lift your head off the ground and put it back down. That lets you know the right muscles are engaged. Come back onto your hands and knees. Come back up and go straight into downward facing dog. From here, you can either walk or jump forward to a standing forward bend. And then inhale, raise the arms up and overhead. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. So we're going to engage our upper body a little bit just to make sure we're ready to roll with all of this fun stuff. We're going to play with some inversions. I've not had you guys do this really since we moved everything online because I'm not sure about your situation and where you practice. So we will at some point be using the wall, and if you don't have a wall, we'll use a chair. I'm going to show you some ways to do that, but I want to make sure that core is really awake and the upper body. So here's what I want you to do. You're just going to stand in a nice Tadasana. You're going to bring your elbows at 90 degrees. They are at shoulder height and shoulder width. Your palms are facing forward. Pull your shoulders down the back, push the elbows forward, bring the elbows together and spread your wrists apart. Hold this for another couple of breaths. If you're exerting the correct amount of effort, it's rather intense. Release the arms, roll your shoulders back. Now I want your right arm in front, same position, but now your palm faces in, so 90 degrees, shoulder down, elbow forward. Your left hand is going to press on the inside of your right elbow. Push against it. This is an isometric contraction. You're going to feel the right side of your chest turning on. Nice. Let's do the other side. So your left arm is out in front of you. Your right hand is pressing against the inside of your left elbow. Your left elbow is pressing back. You feel the left side of your chest turning on. Take one more breath. And release. Roll your shoulders back. All right, so here we go. Feet together, palms together. Inhale, reach your arms up. And as you exhale, fold forward. Inhale and look up halfway. And then exhale back down. I want you to step straight back to plank position and hold. Kind of like a review of last week with the basics from your plank. Press into down dog. Shift back into plank. Press back into down dog. Take your right leg out behind you. As you exhale, bring your right knee to your nose, nose to knee, and hold it. Right foot back down. Left leg in the air. As you exhale, bring your left knee to your nose and hold it. Left foot back down and drop to your knees. All right, so we're going to come into headstand prep one more time. And I want you to just be aware of making sure that there is the crown of the head, which is a little beyond the midpoint at the top of your head. So you know the deal. Grab your upper arms with your hands. Make sure that your elbows are the correct distance. Interlace your fingers and make a loose little horseshoe. Top of the head goes in there. Before you lift up, press into your forearms to lift the head off the ground to make sure your muscles are engaged. Head goes back down. Toes turn under down dog, legs, walk your feet forward. Right leg in the air. Right foot down, left leg in the air. Left foot down, back onto your hands and knees. All right, so here's where we're going to start to practice a little bit depending upon your level. This is multi-level practice. So what we just did on the mat, headstand prep with lifting a leg, maybe, that's level 1. If that is your level today, please feel completely comfortable staying there. You don't have to do any of the next levels. If you would like to play with level 2. You can either have your feet against a wall. We're going to do a 90-degree angle with our body, an L shape. If you can do it with your feet against the wall, cool. I'll show you that in a moment. But what if you don't have a wall available to you to do this? Pardon me. As I mentioned, you can use a chair. So let me show that, or another piece of furniture. It could be a couch or an ottoman, something that will not slide. This is critical. If you have polished floors and furniture that slides, don't use that. So this morning, I have a folding chair with little rubber stoppers on the feet. And I'm going to set that up to just show you how you might use this to begin to increase your capacity to do a headstand. Pardon me. I have a dry throat this morning because of heaters. Okay, so you would get your feet a little bit, well, as close as you can to your piece of furniture. I actually have my feet a little underneath my little folding chair here. I'm going to find that correct distance between my arms, interlace my fingers, press the crown of my head into the floor, and then just step my feet up on the chair. Now you can see right now I don't have much of an angle with my body, but I could start to move a little bit more and start pressing my hips back. Now in my case, because I have quite short legs, I would need to be considerably closer to get my L shape. If you feel like you can do this, give this a shot. You might even consider taking one leg up and then the other. Hold it for 4 or 5 breaths. Come down to the knees and take a couple of breaths in a child's pose. If you have a wall, well, then it's a little different. You put the soles of your feet against the wall. You come down onto your forearms, and you don't want to be too far away from the wall. You're going to be closer than you think you should be. Find the correct distance between the elbows. Crown of the head. In that little horseshoe made by your hands, feet step just to hip height, and then you press your hips back. Now I can feel that my torso is not vertical, so I'm going to come down and move a little closer to the wall. You really want to shoot for a 90-degree angle. And hold it. And maybe you take a leg up or not. Take a couple of breaths. And then we'll come down, take a couple of breaths in a child's pose. And then come on up. Step it back to plank. And let's take a vinyasa. From your downward facing dog, just press the tailbone up and back. Make sure your navel is slightly pulled in. And then walk or jump your feet forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up and overhead. And as you exhale, bring your palms together in front of your heart. All right, so you've seen basic headstand prep, which is with your feet on the ground. It looks like down dog, but you've got headstand hand position. That's one option. By the way, if you have neck issues and you've got the shoulder strength to do it, you can just do this with your head a little bit off the floor so that there's no pressure on the neck. Phase 2 is what we just did. Feet on a chair or feet on the wall. Great place to work on awareness of having a vertical torso and having the core engaged. If you would like to try phase 3, which would be to go all the way up, you can still use the chair, by the way, even if you have wall space. If you don't feel like you can kick up, you can use the chair to step up. So I'm going to show you that really quickly and then let you play for a couple of moments. So I'm going to put my chair here. If I wanted to step up into a headstand rather than kicking my way up or piking my way up, if I'm still working on it, I would have my chair in position. Come onto the correct arm position. Remember, always check your upper arms. Feet would go on the chair, and I would simply step a leg back until I felt the wall and step my other leg to meet it.
Engage the core, slight pulling in of the navel. Feet and legs are very active. To come back down, feet on the chair, feet to the floor, child's pose.
So that is one option. If you choose to go upside down, remember you always have a choice. And one of your choices might be to say no. Now, if you're pretty good with headstand and you want to just kick up, remember you need to kick with a straight leg, one leg at a time. Don't try and kick with the feet. You're just trying to get your hips over your shoulders. So if that's what you're doing this morning, you'll interlace the fingers, find the correct distance for your forearms. Down dog legs, walk the feet forward and simply kick with one straight leg and come up against the wall. And again, engage your core. Hold it for a few breaths, come down and rest in child's pose. The final phase of this is if you feel like you have the core strength, you learn to pike up. You would interlace your fingers. You can do all of this on furniture, by the way. And simply walk the feet as far forward as you can. Engage your core. And begin to let the hips lift. Maybe the legs are against the wall, maybe not. If you feel extra strong this morning, do this in the center of the floor. Take another couple of breaths, and then we'll simply come down and rest in child's pose. So I want you to breathe, do your child's pose, and then a couple more times we're going to play with this, and then all of the hard stuff is over. So breathing, enjoying your time upside down this morning. If you're doing that, remembering that it's fine to even just do headstand prep. So if you like, you simply come into your down dog legs and walk the feet forward. If you're playing with piking, you can, of course, do that in the middle of the floor. Core is always engaged, legs are always active. And as we come down, we take a couple of breaths in child's pose. And then wherever you're at in your practice, let's go ahead and take a vinyasa. Meet me in down dog. And then you can either walk or jump your feet forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, come to prayer. So I want you to just take a moment and really feel how your core feels right now. Still keeping that slight pulling in of the navel. Pardon me. And just noticing, do you feel pretty alive now? Do you feel pretty alert? Do you feel awake, lucid, right? Inversions have all of these benefits. Take one more breath. And then bring your feet together, bring your palms together. Inhale, reach your arms up and stretch. Exhale and fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. Pardon me, exhale back down. Step back with your left foot into a lunge. I so apologize for my clearing of the throat. Okay, so just like we did earlier, we're going to test the difference in our core engagement. Come on up into a high lunge if you can. Take a moment and breathe. Core is really engaged. Navel is slightly pulled in. Lift off for a warrior three. See if it seems a little easier now. See if you can just put your left foot back down and bring the arms overhead. Spin your left heel flat, come into warrior two. Let's reverse our warrior. And come back up into a side angle, right hand on the floor, left arm up and over. Come back into warrior two, straighten your right leg, lengthen out and come into triangle. So when our core is fired up, all of our poses feel more powerful, more stable. Bring your left hand down, step back to plank. Flow through your vinyasa. Remember, you can modify if you need to. Always we work at our own level, and honestly, our level can be different on different days. Honor whatever's going on in your body today. And then we're going to take that left foot forward. Go ahead and come up into your high lunge. Lift off into warrior three. Remember, your arms can continue to extend forward. I'm just shooting mine back, so don't hit anything. Right foot back down. High lunge. Right foot spins flat, warrior two. Right hand, right thigh, reverse warrior. Come on up. Left hand to the ground, right arm up and over for side angle. Come back up into your warrior two. Straighten your left leg. Kick the hips to the right. Find your triangle pose. Again, slight pulling into the navel, engagement of the core. How does this all feel? And then let's take the right hand down, and I want you to flow through your final vinyasa. When you get to your down dog, really, really lengthen your spine. Maintain that slight pulling into the navel. And then you can either walk or jump forward and have a seat in Dandasana, staff pose, connecting sit bones to the floor. Heart is lifted, head is aligned, core is engaged. Bottom points of the rib cage slightly tuck in, even though the chest is lifting. After you've had a moment to check in, let's keep the right leg straight. Bring the left foot to the inside of the right thigh. I want you to just lean out over your right leg for a moment. So technically, an inversion is any pose that allows your abdominal organs to be higher than your heart, or your heart to be higher than your head, or both. So technically, downward facing dog is an inversion. A forward bend, standing, forward bend, is an inversion. You've done lots of inverting today, but you always do. We forget that. Inversions aren't just headstands and forearm balances. Come on up, allow your right foot to meet your left foot. Hands right behind you. Straight spine, knees press out to the side and down towards the ground. Keep your right knee bent, extend your left leg, lean out over that left leg. And then come on up. Left foot meets right foot, but this time we're going to slide them way out in front of us and clasp the ankles. You can either arch the back and pull your chest forward, or you may round the back and try and get your head to your feet. Either one is fine. Just make sure everything feels okay in your body and take a couple of breaths. And then come on up from that, extend your legs and wiggle your feet. So in the yogic tradition, headstands are heating poses. And whether you did it with your feet on the ground, your feet on a chair or the wall, or all the way up, you still get those benefits. Now, another inversion is a shoulder stand, and that's considered a cooling pose. Everyone thinks they have to get completely vertical with their feet in the air, but I'm going to show you another way to do that today as well. Shoulder stand is one of the few inversions where the abdominal organs are higher than the heart, but the heart is not necessarily higher than the head. Depends on how inverted you get. It's very important when you do a shoulder stand that you keep curve in the back of the neck. But I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do that today that aren't just hiking your hips into your hands. Because the benefit of shoulder stand is getting the chin to tuck into the notch of the collarbone, which stimulates the thyroid and parathyroid. So back to the wall or the chair. I'm going to grab my chair again just to kind of show you that version. If you're using a chair that has legs, that can be extremely helpful. If you're using a couch or something, it's still okay. You want to get your bum as close to the edge of the couch or chair as possible. Now, in my case, I'm scooting up enough, and if you're using a chair with legs, I'm going to grab the front legs of my chair. This helps me keep my shoulders in line. Feet come to the front edge of the chair or whatever furniture you're using. Make sure that there's curve in the back of the neck. Don't turn your head once you lift up, very important. And so you can push into the furniture to get your torso somewhat vertical. Now, if you feel like you can scoot yourself closer, but this is a nice modified shoulder stand. You're obviously not vertical. If you feel like that's okay, go ahead and lower down. And you're using a chair with legs, you can get yourself farther underneath the chair. And then feet to the chair and lift up again, walking your way forward. So that's one way to come into a modified shoulder stand without having to hike your hips into your hands. Particularly if you have wrist issues, that might be more friendly. So that's one version. Now, the other version would be to use the wall. Just move my chair one more time here. And the wall version is really quite nice because you can stay for a while and it feels pretty good. So you would get your bum as close to the wall as you can. If you can get it all the way touching, even better. Feet are flat and you press your hips up. And you can put your hands on your hips or not, but you're pushing into the wall to push your chest into your chin. Take a couple of breaths. Make sure you have curve in the back of the neck. And go ahead and lower down. So from there, those of you that like to do full shoulder stand, you're welcome to do it. But if it bothers your wrists or your neck, those using the chair or the wall are a couple of alternatives. We're going to go up one more time. We'll just hold it for 4 or 5 breaths. So shoulder stand, using a chair, a couch, the wall, or just getting hips into hands. Regardless, you want your core engaged. Go ahead and come all the way down. You'll find yourself on your back. Hug your knees in and rock side to side. If deep twists are okay in your body, you'll put your right foot flat, left thigh tightly crosses right. And you're going to drop both knees to the right with the left arm opened out. If deep twists are not your thing, uncross the legs and just have 2 bent knees dropping to the right. Begin to relax. You can start to soften through the core now.
On your next inhale, bring the knees back up. If they were crossed, uncross them. If they weren't crossed, you're good. Left foot on the ground, right thigh tightly crosses left if you're crossing them. Otherwise, pick your knees up and take them to the left. If you're crossing right thigh over left, don't pick your left foot up. You want to keep the spine a little straighter. Right arm opens out to the right. If it's okay with your neck, your head turns to the right. And you can finally soften your core. On your next inhale, come on back up, uncross your legs if they were crossed, hug the knees in, rock side to side. We're gonna keep the knees bent, put the feet flat outside the edges of the mat. You're gonna drop both knees to the left to begin with, getting a little bit of a right outer hip, outer thigh stretch. If that feels okay, left foot on top of right knee just to provide some leverage. So you should be feeling this in the outer right hip, about where the seam of pants or shorts would be. You might feel a tiny bit on the top of the thigh. You should not feel it in your knee, and you should also not feel it in your back. If you're feeling it in the right side of the low back, get the glute as flat as possible. Couple more breaths on this side. If your left foot is on your right knee, take it off, put it back outside the mat. Both knees come up and drop over to the right. If you would like, you can put right foot on top of left knee. Same thing applies here. Make sure you're not feeling it in the knee or the back. You want to feel it in the side of your left hip predominantly. And it's not a real intense stretch. It should be relatively gentle. If your right foot is on your left knee, take it off, put it back outside the mat, and prop your knees together. Just taking a moment to get a little bit of a different outer hip stretch. Couple more breaths. And then go ahead and hug the knees in, rock side to side. Grab the outside edges of your feet and happy baby a little bit. So even though we focused on the core and inverting, we did some warriors and triangles and side angles and all of that good stuff. So you actually got some hip opening. We activated the upper arms. We did some headstand preps and some serratus work. So you got some upper body stuff. So just explore. Take a few more breaths. As I said, your core is actually the key to everything. When our core is strong, our extremities, like arms and legs, are far more supported. And so we can express more strength in the extremities when the core is strong. Let's go ahead and place the feet flat on the mat, ankles and knees together. Just a few of those nice gentle hip rolls, coordinating with the breathing. Exhaling, the knees drop to one side. Inhaling, they come back up, and exhaling, they drop the opposite direction. Just keep rolling with your breath. Next time that the knees come to the center, let the feet come together and the knees separate. So You're in reclined bound angle. Take a deep breath in, pressing the low back into the mat to just flatten the back. So taking the curve out of the spine. You wait, and then on your next exhale, you relax, let the curve come back into your spine. One more time, inhale, flatten the back. And then as you exhale, release it. Begin to extend your legs. You know the drill. Find the perfect spot for every body part for Shavasana. So we always want to make sure, particularly after inverting, I mean, every Shavasana is important, but particularly after inverting, you want your hands lower than your heart. You want your legs and your entire body just relaxed. So if you've been good about keeping that slight Uddiyana Bandha, that slight pulling into the navel, let it go now. Let the belly be soft. Let your face be soft. Take a huge inhale through your nose. Big exhale through your mouth and relax. So for today, we're just going to do a really nice progressive relaxation. Inversions are fantastic for bringing a little more alertness and lucidity to us because they flood your brain with fresh oxygenated blood. So they can be mentally stimulating, energizing, but we want our body to be relaxed, even if our mind and our brain is energized. So just a really classic relaxation response Shavasana today. I want you to begin by becoming conscious of the soles of your feet. Feel the pads of the toes, the balls of the feet, the arches, and the heels. Feel the tops of your feet, the tops of the toes, the sides of the feet, the Achilles tendon, and your ankles. So from your ankles down, completely relaxed. Feel the front of your shin, the back of your calf, the backs of the knees, tops of the knees, imagining that kneecap is floating. So from the knees down, completely relaxed. Feel the tops of your thighs, the backs of your thighs, inner and outer thighs, the sides of your hips, your glutes, which are your buttocks, your lower abdomen, from the hips down, completely relaxed. Feel your stomach, which should be nice and soft now. Feel the sides of the waist and feel your low back. Feel your mid back and upper back. Feel the sides of your rib cage and into your armpits. Feel the front of your rib cage, the front of your chest, the front of the shoulders, the top of the shoulders, the back side of the shoulders. Feel your upper arms, your forearms, your wrists, the backs of the hands, the palms of the hands, the fingers and thumbs. From your shoulders down, completely relaxed. Feel the front of your throat, the sides of the neck, the back of the neck. Everything really soft and relaxed, so that from the neck down, completely relaxed. Feel your jaw, even feel your tongue. Feel your chin, your lips,
nose, your cheeks, your eyes, with the eyelids just resting on top of the eyes. Feel your forehead. Feel your ears. Feel your scalp. From the top of the head all the way down. Totally relaxed. This beautifully relaxed state that your body is currently in. It's very healthy for you. In this state, your body is absorbing your yoga practice. When we get into a deeply relaxed state, that's also where healing occurs. Not only at the physical level, but at the mental, emotional, and spiritual levels as well, the energetic levels. So for another couple of minutes, I want you to rest in this relaxed state. Give yourself the gift of this supreme relaxation. From the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, from fingertip to fingertip, everything in between, completely relaxed. And yet the mind is lucid and awake and aware and energized. This is the optimum yogic state, energized and relaxed. It's not an either or, it's an and both. Begin to deepen your breath a little bit. Begin to move your fingers and toes a little bit. Take a deeper inhale, spread your fingers and toes. Exhale as you relax them. Pardon me. Inhale, stretch, full body stretch. Exhale and relax. I want you to just slowly bend your knees, feet flat on the floor. Pause for a moment. And then if you want to hug the knees in, you can. And then roll to your right side. Maybe rest there for a moment. And press up into sitting. So as you come to your seated position, just find that aligned spine and notice if perhaps it's easier to be aligned. So when the core is really engaged, it's super easy to have a straight spine because our core holds us there. And so it should be relatively comfortable. I'd like you to try and work with all four parts of the breath this morning, which would be an inhale, an internal retention, which is holding your breath in your lungs, an exhale, and then an external retention, which is holding the breath out of the lungs or an extra long pause before you breathe back in. If any of that makes you uncomfortable, you skip it. You should never struggle with breath work, with pranayama. It's supposed to be the sweet part of the practice. If you're okay with doing all four parts of the breath, I would encourage you to try to control your breath enough that you do this as a ratio, which would be a 1-1-2-1 ratio, meaning your inhale and both retentions are all the same length of time, and the exhale is just twice as long as your inhale. So for example, if I inhaled for 3 seconds, I would hold my breath for 3 seconds, I would exhale for 6 seconds, and I'd pause for 3 seconds before I breathed back in or had an external retention. If you're comfortable doing that, we'll do a few rounds. If you need to adjust it, for instance, no holding, you could just do a 1-to-2 ratio breath. It should be long enough to be slightly challenging, but not so long that there is any struggle anywhere. Straight spine, all through the nose. Big inhale through the nose to start. Full exhale through the nose to empty the lungs, and then off you go. 4-part breathing, 1-1-2-1 ratio. Finish out the breath you're on. As you do finish out, simply let your breathing return to normal and just sit for a moment in stillness, in silence, in observation. Slowly bring your palms together in front of your heart. Take a moment of gratitude for your practice this morning. If you challenged yourself to maybe go outside your comfort zone by going upside down, congratulate yourself for that. If you chose to honor yourself and skip the inversions or any of the more extreme things that were not good for you, congratulate yourself for that. Part of our yoga practice is really, truly learning to listen to our bodies. So if you did that, congratulate yourself for that. Have gratitude for the capacity to do that. Gratitude for the practice. Gratitude for your breath. Gratitude for your life and for this beautiful day spreading out in front of us. Take one more huge inhale through the nose. Soft, happy sigh. Palms together in front of the forehead, reminding us to just be present. Palms together in front of our lips, reminding us to speak our truth. And palms together in front of our hearts, reminding us to keep our hearts open, to practice kindness, to practice compassion, to practice love. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Namaste.